Hello. So hi, my name is VN from VN Gaming. This is Baza. Say hi.
Hey there, it's Bez. How you doing?
Well, so today isn't really so much gaming. This is like the start of like an audiobook of sorts, where for those who can't be bothered reading, which I should know should exist, I'm one of them, despite the fact that I wrote a story. Um, Upon the entire completion of book one, me and Basil thought it was a good idea to do like an audiobook of sorts. So if you really don't
Nice.
want to read the story, you can listen to us. Now, there's gonna be some like background music to this as well, with some songs, various songs from YouTube. I'm not sure if I'll be able to like credit them all over time. So what's going to happen is that while we write this while we record this like audiobook, I'm going to be forming like this book one book one soundtrack of sorts, containing all the music that I have used during this audiobook series. Each chapter is going to be its own video, and while not entirely high quality, so it's not the kind of thing where we're like a high studio and me and Baz are like reading all this in one thing, and then I'm going into like the editing software and putting in music and editing. No, I'm playing the music while we read, because this is more meant to be just for fun. So if you get any like cuts in the music or anything, then I'm not gonna cut that out. I'm just gonna leave it in. Otherwise, have fun. I think this is a nice story written by me. Well, this specific chapter that you're about to listen to was written by me, rephrased, reworded by Barry.
Yes. Nice.
Um, but yeah, enjoy the story. Like 35, 36 total chapters. A good read, I think. Although I'm the writer, so I'm obviously biased. So I'll let you guys figure that out. As of right now, enjoy the story.
The quick disclaimer: we are not professionals.
Yeah, we're not voice actors.
So
Although I will be using like voice mod to modulate my voice for some of the characters. We're not professionals, so
bear with us a bit.
yeah. Anyway, here's what's gonna happen. I'm controlling the music.
Mhm.
So while I will voice some characters over time, Barry's mainly gonna be the one narrating the story for you. So enjoy. This chapter is entirely him, because this is all narration. So enjoy.
Prologue begins. Are you ready? Yeah. Prologue 1. The Astral Famine. Archive A1. In this tale, we shall introduce to you two skeletons, a male, Felix, and a female, Rhoda. These two individuals are of a skeleton/monster race, Alpha Tail, a world that is technologically advanced, similar to the modern days. Though nature is as primitive as the times of the medieval ages, where racism roams free in the air. You could practically smell it. Previously, the two were rising scientists. Felix would be an expert in the quantum physics and meta department, whereas Rhoda would be an expert in science and power, with both their knowledge as one. They revolutionized the definition of science and technology for all of monster kind. Though they are both geniuses of their age group, things are bound to turn the other way. An experiment was conducted by both Felix and Rhoda in order to turn a monster into a human in order to remove racism altogether. But after a miscalculation, the experiment went severely wrong and caused Rhoda's body to mutate into something that isn't human nor monster. This would be seen as an in-between. After the incident from the failed experiment, both humans and monsters saw her as some freak of nature. Monsters saw her as a rotten mistake, while humans saw her like the other monsters. Even with Rhoda's clear beauty, it doesn't stop the fact that others still look down on her, as well as showing signs of prejudice. Archive A2, where Rhoda had a rough time with her appearance, Felix got the other end of the harsh stick. From the day of the failed experiment and the days after, he had been feeling guilty for what had happened to Rhoda, giving himself questions to ponder about. Did he not calculate the math properly? Did he forget to account for a variable? Maybe. There was an error in one of the machines. Or was the code written incorrectly? Many questions clouded Felix's thoughts, but no matter how many of them filled up his mind, he had but only one goal set in his head. He had to make things right for Rhoda. So for that, he decided to stay with her in order to protect and to keep her company. Whenever Rhoda would get shamed on her appearance by someone, Felix would always be there to stand up for her. His determination to make things right with Rhoda was as clear as day. Felix had been staying close to Rhoda for so long, they ended up going on a date together. Though as days passed, the two started to grow a connection with each other. Despite Felix's false intention of only being with her out of pity from the fateful accident from the failure of the experiment, his feelings towards Rhoda genuinely grew more and more, until he truly fell in love with her, to the point where they even got married at some stage in life. Archive A3. Though it is unsure how long they were married for, well now let us say 12 years. Rhoda got pregnant with Felix's child, which was to be a baby boy. Of course the two were so happy with the news and were overjoyed with excitement. But surely, things would go down to the worst situation. With the knowledge of being able to become a father, Felix went out to the local bar to have a drink with his two friends to commemorate the great news. Though they did have fun drinking and talking, Felix's friends still looked down on Rhoda due to racism and prejudice. So the two friends plotted a wicked action against Felix and drugged his drink with a non-lethal chemical liquid, causing him to become unconscious. And while in this state, they got a woman to have sex with the limp body of the knocked out Felix. Things were going bad, but things got even worse as when the two were dragging Felix's body out the door, looking like he had just done sex. Rhoda walked into the bar, having worried sick for Felix after he never picked up any of her calls the past hour, seeing in a state where it seems as though Felix had cheated on her, which brutally left her in great shock, causing her to change completely. Archive A4. Rhoda started becoming more cold to other people, always glaring at others with fire, especially Felix, as well as cutting ties with them completely. As much as Felix tried to explain to Rhoda about the situation, she would only respond with either an okay or a whatever, as this heartbreaking event caused Rhoda to lose the will to feel anything. From this, the loving couple quickly split up, with Rhoda pushing Felix away from her. Though, somewhere after the breakup, Rhoda gave birth to the baby boy, which she had named Hunter. Hunter Astral. But of course, she didn't feel anything when she held her son in her arms. As the young child's name suggests, he was a natural hunter at a young age. Though unfortunately, Rhoda became a workaholic, burying herself in her scientific work. Spent little time eating, drinking, sleeping, and the necessities of life. She never bothered to spend any time to see her child nor anyone else, but had also abandoned her responsibilities as a mother for Hunter. But fortunate enough for the kid, when he grew little, he had a great instinct for survival, enough for him to even take care of himself at a young age. Occasionally, Felix did some small actions, like leaving food and drinks at the door. Even though he wasn't able to see both Rhoda nor Meekness from sunset, he wanted to make sure the kid had enough to eat and drink in order to survive. Archive A5. Few days had passed, and Rhoda had a striking idea. She began working on her best project yet. She wanted to create a perfect world. A world where cheating, betrayal, racism, and prejudice no longer exists. Technology advances, and still, people are still racist. Rhoda has had enough. Humans and monsters being racist to each other, attacking each other, hating each other. So sick of it. If you wanted to achieve a dream for a perfect world, you need kingdoms under her control. The problem is, humans are strong. While monsters are capable with a variety of abilities, let alone the strength of their abilities, Rhoda needs to do something big, massively, to get over this obstacle. We need to create something powerful, something alive. Experiment 427. Log 1. ALF1, or Artificial Life Form 1. He had done it. He's created life. Literally. This is something very few or even no one has done before. The power to create an actual person. All Rhoda needed to worry about now was to create the strongest being known to man and monster kind. ALF1, with the preferred name of Jacob Astral, was created as a baby with aging capabilities to boot. Equipped with the power of a mythical purple method, as well as anti-magic manipulation, no one would stand a chance against Rhoda's creation. Or so she thought. Unfortunately, Jacob had to be at least 18 to be able to be strong. And with him around being 3 years old, the training would be too slow and would delay Rhoda's plan. So she considered him as a failure and threw him into her home and abandoned him, like how she abandoned Hunter. When Hunter first saw Jacob for the first time, the small child slammed the locked door with his 2 small hands, while bursting with tears as he called for his mother to come back. Though Jacob is a creation, he was made young. So when he was created, he saw Rhoda as his mother. "Mommy, don't leave me. I want to be with you, Mommy." Jacob screamed these exact words over and over, but had gotten no response. She had already left. All Auntie could do right now was to hug him and to calm him down, shedding a tear for him. He knew that this was not possible. He could never be the mother Jacob needed to be. That doesn't mean that he couldn't try. Thus, he decided to put himself up to the task to become Jacob's caretaker, as well as being his older brother. Hunter had to make sure he gathered a lot of food and water from his hunting trips to sustain both Jacob and himself. Now, Experiment 427, Log 2. 2 years have passed after Rhoda abandoned Jacob. She was tirelessly working on creating a new artificial life form that would prove more useful to her. From the known flaws when creating Jacob, she had made sure that those flaws would not affect her second creation, as well as making sure he was old enough to fasten the process. So she decided to skip the adult stage of the life form, giving it normal English speaking abilities, as well as knowledge of an average person, with the downside of it having no childhood when having brought to this world through scientific means. The third year came, and with careful measurements and calculations, she had successfully created ALF2, or Artificial Life Form 2, with his with his monster name being William Astral, with the name William being a contingency plan in case anyone had read the documents on him. Since the law was very harsh with illegal acts and criminality, appearing as humane as possible would be beneficial for the chance of escaping harsh punishments from the law. He was created inheriting the power of both the Blue and Sign Mastery. The Blue Mastery focuses on gravitational force, and the Sign Mastery focuses on the power of time manipulation. Though you can only use these powers at a moderate level due to having limited knowledge of the full potential of the masteries, since no one knows what the full powers were. Fortunately, William had a knack for combat on creation, so he was able to rely on more ways to fight. Because William was equipped with mastery over time and gravity, he was set to become the strongest monster in the world. Now, Experiment 477, Log 1. As of now, he was not allowed to leave the lab as instructed by Rhoda, mainly because his life was created legally, so she made sure no one knew of his existence except herself. He made use of William by making do every single thing Rhoda had asked of him, sorting out files, or cleaning the work area. He made sure he did everything Rhoda could have done herself in the lab. Even though William did everything Rhoda asked for, he was still treated very poorly. If he didn't have a toilet, or if he needed to have a toilet break, he was forced to do his business on a nearby plant in the lab. She would always consider him as a creation, hence always calling him ALF2 or number 2, and never William. He even had a mark stating that he was the second life form created by Rhoda. Though at any point William needed to eat, Rhoda would give him food. Not because she cared for him, but needed to keep him alive for her own ambitions. William would have to live with this lifestyle for the next couple of years. Experiment 477, Log 2. Years have passed, and William's progress to become the strongest goes even further through many phases of testing. Rhoda read through many of William's logs, scanning through his strengths and powers, observing more precisely upon his blue and sign mastery at the intermediate stage. Upon looking at these masteries, he remembers some theories and stone inscriptions depicting an unfamiliar type of mastery that is believed to be the most powerful of them all, the Yellow Mastery. This itself made Rhoda extremely paranoid. She believed that in any case, ALF-2 faced off against someone who possesses this mastery. ALF-2 would have a much harder time combating the foe. If Rhoda were to somehow get her hands on this mastery, she would be able to create a being that would be significantly more powerful than William. Though she was thinking of throwing her second creation away, she also considered the power he currently wields going to waste if she does, hence devising a plan to extract all of those powers to create something useful. Experiment 477, Log 3. Rhoda brought ALF-2 to a room with a single computer, along with many tools and equipment, as well as 2 test tubes that seemed to be connected together through a pipe. One of the tubes was from when she used to create the second lifeline, and the other was to store the new creation. She inserted William into the tube and began preparation for extraction. William's power slowly siphoned into the connecting pipe and flowed into the other test tube. During this process, the pain that William had to endure was immense and painful. His body, feeling like it was being ripped apart, bit by bit, as if a part of him was being removed. When the process was complete, William was basically stripped off of all of his powers, and was used by Rhoda to create the Alpha Blasters. The design of the skull was based on the Sky Beast, on the Sky Beast Wyvern, a prehistoric beast of the skies. These Alpha Blasters have the ability to release a powerful beam that will be targeted directly at the desired target. William may have lost all of his abilities, but luckily, he had a copy of these Alpha Blasters. So compared with his original abilities, this was a heavy downgrade to his abilities, to his capabilities with abilities, since his original powers are much more stronger than the blasters that he has now. Also, since he needed major precision, in order to fully utilize them. Experiment 477, Log 4. He has had enough. William has had enough. The pain and suffering he had to endure in this too bad. He just couldn't take it anymore. He had to wait for the right timing to make his grand escape. So, he sat in one area, waiting and waiting, until that very moment, the perfect chance had been at him. Rhoda was walking into the room where William was in and forgot to close the door. Right at that moment, William dashed as fast as possible to that door and ran right past Rhoda. While escaping, he ran across another door, but he wouldn't have any time to open it, so he tried to use his Alpha Blaster to open it with a lot of panic. But with little accuracy with the blasters, he had missed entirely and instead put a wall in the lab. But that coincidentally led him to his freedom, as it made a way to get out of the lab. William dashed towards the hole he made and escaped out of the lab, while Rhoda just stood there, bending and bleeding, as she does not need him anymore. She believed that since he is practically powerless, he was eventually bound to die in the outside world. As such, she continued her work to fulfill her ideology through scientific means done illegally. Experiment 477, Log 5. Though William's escape was successful, there is but one problem. All he had were the glasses that Rhoda made, and nothing else. No powers, no abilities, nothing. This would make him the weakest monster in the world. Since monsters are generally inherently weaker than humans, being the weakest out of all the monsters turned out to be the worst possible thing that can happen to William. To make things worse, when he escaped, some humans caught their eyes on him, putting a massive grin on their faces. They ganged up on William and started beating him up, making him unconscious. The humans then grabbed his monster body and threw him into the gladiator arena. This arena is shaped similar to the arenas used to play the Hunger Games, though all the competitors do is mostly fight to the death. This is a place where humans could enslave monsters and get them to fight each other to the death, just to make a quick buck for themselves. Monsters will gain no benefits, nor any earnings from competing in the fights. And after those fights, the monsters don't even get medical treatment, no matter how injured they are, or they were. They will still get sent into the battlefield. William, being the weakest out of all of them, he struggled to survive against other monsters he had to face. While he was able to find his opponent's weak points, but without any proper abilities, William had to suffer immensely in this hellhole for the next decade. Diary Entry 1. It's called. In this part of the story, we welcome the Astral, a child that was recently adopted by Rhoda. After the past events dating back to William's escape, Rhoda decided to drop her experiment of creating artificial life, realizing the risks were too great if high authorities found out of her schemes. Though if she did put it aside, why bother adopting them in the first place? In truth, Millie was a skeleton of a special breed. Her body consisted of bones that came from the prehistoric times, which is considered the top type of bone a skeleton could have. The species of skeletons was considered to be the apex predator of all monsters. With that knowledge, Rhoda expected her to be tough and powerful, as well as always being obedient, but Millie's personality was far from it. In reality, she was just an innocent little girl, a pacifist, but also a bit of a brat. Though Rhoda got used to it. Since Rhoda never cared about being a mother, she put Millie under the care of Hunter. He was now grown a bit older. Diary Entry 2. During one of Hunter's hunts, he stumbled upon an abandoned kingdom, destroyed by the ruins of war. Within the ruins is but a single child, a skeleton baby. Hunter shook with rage and sadness while looking at the last skeleton. How? How could someone just leave a baby here? Especially in a place like this. Having no one to leave the child, he took in the baby as his younger brother. Though he didn't know what his name was, so remembering Jacob, Hunter named him Jack Astral. Now with Jack, Millie, and Jacob to take care of, Hunter had to hunt and work even more than before, in order to provide more for his siblings and himself. At this point, he really was the strength of the family, and the one who really lead them to a great life. Diary Entry 3. Hunter eventually came across some files on a thing called ALF2, William Astral. Could he be a new brother? He quietly snuck around the old lab where Rhoda used to do her experiments, but he could not find him anywhere. Rightfully, we need to find William and bring him back to where he belongs. Hunter, along with Jack, went out looking far and wide for him, only to find him at a garbage alley near Gladiator. The two took William in and let him be a part of the family. Now, the family is complete. Though having no parents, the Astral family now consists of Hunter, Jacob, Jack, and Millie as the family members. For many decades, the family was happy. Genuinely, everyone was living their life to the fullest. William grew much closer with Jack, more closer than any family member, to the point where the two became the best of friends. All was good. Unfortunately, trauma was going to unleash onto the family and lead the family to a disastrous fate. Diary Entry 4. William eventually hinted to Jacob about his origins as a life form, played by Rhoda. With this information, Jacob majorly majorly freaked out, breathing heavily while still trying to process what he was told. Jacob charged over to Rhoda and confronted her about him being creation. But all she did was show no sense of care about Jacob, and had simply confirmed that he was a simple creation that was thrown out because he was useless. She didn't do much else afterwards. Falling to despair, Jacob ran off into the wilderness, with tears falling from his eyes. Knowing this, he could never face his family, nor do anything to do with them. Being made for war, but being considered a failure, he needed to show that he was capable of being strong, to be powerful. He promised himself he would become the strongest warrior in the world. He would destroy anyone blocking his way. He would become a killer. Diary Entry 5. A decade has passed, and Jacob Astral has gone missing ever since he ran away. His family, especially Hunter, has searched for him for the entire decade. But the day where Jacob did come back, he appeared in the town, holding an axe, covered in dust and blood. He stared down at the Astral family house, and that is where the catastrophe unfolds into absolute destruction.
And that is where we end Prologue 1. So, yeah, that's Prologue 1. Next episode, we get to Prologue 2. The Singularity. I'm not going to open the next chapter, because chapter spoilers. But
Yeah.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the chapter so far. 35-minute read.
It's worth it. Trust me. It
Well,
really is.
okay. Well, we'll see. Anyway, Barry, seeing as you read this, I'll say the endings for now. Thank you
Alrighty.
for reading. Thank you for listening to this chapter. If you want to hear more, then I'm sure you can skip my words and what I'm about to say and just get to the next chapter. So without further ado, I'm just gonna say bye. Bye.
See yous.